From our Washington, D.C. studios, this is the Muslim News on Muslim Network TV. Assalamu alaikum, I'm Hena Zuberi. The FBI is preparing to interrogate 6 Democratic lawmakers over a video that urged U.S. troops to reject illegal orders. Those names include Senator Mark Kelly and Elissa Slotkin, and Representatives Chrissy Houlihan, Chris DeLuzio, Jason Crow, and Maggie Goodlander. In the video, Senator Kelly said U.S. law allows soldiers to refuse unlawful commands. The Trump administration called the message seditious and a threat to presidential authority. Congressman Crow, speaking for 4 of the lawmakers, said President Donald Trump is using the FBI to intimidate critics. He posted online that members of Congress will not be bullied and will continue their work. Slotkin said that the FBI Counterterrorism Division opened an inquiry into her because Trump disliked the video. She accused him of weaponizing government agencies against opponents. The FBI confirmed outreach to House and Senate security offices for interrogation. The Pentagon is also reviewing misconduct claims against Kelly. Last week, Trump called the group traitors. Tonight, the U.S. government is detaining a record number of migrants, more than 65,000 people, as arrests and deportations accelerate at a pace not seen in years. Officials say Immigration and Customs Enforcement is averaging nearly 1,200 arrests and more than 1,250 removals every single day. The surge follows weeks of delays caused by the recent government shutdown. Between October 1st and mid-November, ICE booked more than 54,000 new detainees, while Customs and Border Patrol reported another 7,000 cases. Homeland Security says it's been able to expand capacity through new facility partnerships, but many of those new detention centers are operated by GEO Group, a private prison corporation with deep political ties to President Donald Trump. GEO Group was one of the largest donors to Trump's 2016 inauguration and received lucrative federal contracts during his administration. Immigration rights advocates say that the company's renewed role under the current expansion raises serious human rights concerns. The administration is reportedly working towards a target of 1 million deportations a year. Officials also say more than 1.6 million undocumented migrants have voluntarily returned home since the start of the year. But immigrants' rights group warned the rapid escalation is fueling fear and family separations, calling for oversight and accountability at privately run facilities. GEO Group denies any wrongdoing and said it's providing services under federal contract. Advocates, however, say profit-driven detention should have no place in U.S. immigration policy. A pastor in North Carolina led a symbolic funeral for tens of thousands of Americans he says could die because of Republican cuts to health care and food support. Cardboard tombstones surrounded the protests. Each warned of what could follow if programs like Medicaid and the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program known as SNAP are reduced. Pastor William Barber said many lives are at risk because of what he called policy violence. This includes cuts passed by President Donald Trump. Similar events took place in more than 15 states. Advocacy groups warn about 51,000 Americans could die every year if low-income families lose insurance, food aid, and help with medical costs. A speaker with disabilities said that they fear losing treatment and independence if Medicaid is reduced. Barber said that the protest was a plea for lawmakers to reverse the cuts. The United States opened fiscal year 2026 with a $284 billion budget deficit. It's 10% higher than the same month last year. Government revenue reached $404 billion in October, up 24%. Spending rose to $689 billion, a 15% jump. The previous fiscal year closed with a deficit of $1.775 trillion, slightly lower than the year before. Officials say record tariff income helped narrow last year's gap, but the new year begins with more pressure on federal finances. The U.S. military is considering ending more than 100 years of ties with Scouting America, formerly known as the Boy Scouts. A draft memo seen by NPR shows Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth wants to cut all support to the group. He argues that the organization no longer supports traditional masculine values and has shifted towards diversity and inclusion. Scouting America has changed in recent years. Girls were allowed to join in 2018, and the group rebranded in 2024 to signal openness to all young people. For over a century, the military has provided medical and logistical support for its national jamboree held every year in West Virginia. The memo could stop the aid and block Scout activities on U.S. bases worldwide. Scouting America says its partnership with the military has helped generations of families. The Pentagon declined to comment, saying it will not discuss leaked documents. Severe rainfall floods dozens of tents sheltering displaced Palestinians in southern Gaza. Details coming up next. Severe rainfall floods dozens of tents sheltering displaced Palestinians in southern Gaza. Water swept through makeshift camps in Al-Mawasi area of Khan Yunis. Witnesses say several tents collapsed and others were torn apart by severe winds. Local officials warn that the situation is worsening. Roads, water pipelines, and sewage systems already are damaged from months of genocide. Khan Yunis municipal spokesperson Saib Luqan said that the city is facing unbearable conditions. He said teams are trying to help people, but resources are scarce and equipment is limited. Authorities estimate nearly 900,000 people in Khan Yunis are exposed to harsh weather without proper shelter. Across Gaza, at least 1.5 million people are displaced. Many live with little access to clear water, food, or electricity. This winter season is turning displacement into a new crisis as rainwater fills fragile tents and families struggle to stay warm and safe. Pakistan denies accusation from Afghanistan's government that its forces carried out deadly overnight airstrikes in Khusht province. Kabul says 10 civilians, including children and a woman, were killed. Islamabad insists the claim is baseless. Taliban spokesperson Zahibullah Mujahid said a civilian home in Gorbuz district was hit. He also claimed strikes in Kunar and Paktika have injured 4 more people. Mujahid called the attack a violation of Afghan sovereignty. Pakistan's army rejected the allegation. Spokesman Lieutenant General Ahmed Sharif Chaudhry said Pakistan targets terrorists and not Afghan civilians. He added that talks with Kabul will not resume unless militants operating from Afghan soil are restrained. Tensions remain high along the border, with both sides trading claims as mediation efforts continue. French Muslim councils in France have taken legal action against a recent poll they believe spreads anti-Muslim sentiment. The survey was carried out by IFOP, for a small magazine called Wwii. It claimed younger Muslims are becoming more quote-unquote radical. Muslim councils argue that biased polls made its argument based on Muslims praying and observing fasts during Ramadan and wearing the veil. The poll then framed Muslims as a threat. In a joint statement, councils in Loire, Aube, and Bouches-du-Rhône said that the survey broke France's objectivity rules on polling. They describe it as selective, misleading, and designed to provoke. The lawyers called the magazine reactionary and said that the study spreads hate at a time when anti-Muslim acts are rising. Official figures show reported hate incidents up by 75% since last year. UN human rights experts have raised an alarm over serious violations by Indian authorities in occupied Jammu and Kashmir. The warning follows the April 22nd attack in Pahalgam that left 26 people dead. Experts condemned the assault but reminded governments to uphold rights while countering terrorism. They say more than 2,800 people, including journalists and rights defenders, were detained in sweeping crackdowns across Jammu and Kashmir. Many were held under the Public Safety Act and the Unlawful Activities Act, which allow long detention without trial. Some detainees allegedly were tortured, denied lawyers, and kept incommunicado. The experts also flagged house demolitions, evictions, and communication blackouts as collective punishment. They cited blocked social media accounts, internet shutdowns, and rising harassment of Kashmiri students. The statement urged India to release those held arbitrarily, review counterterrorism laws, and engage Pakistan in resolving the Kashmir dispute peacefully. New Delhi has not yet responded. Amnesty International has delivered a global petition to TikTok's Dublin office, urging the company to do more to shield young users from harmful and addictive content. The petition carries 170,240 signatures gathered worldwide. 4 young digital rights activists from Ireland, Argentina, and France handed it over. Amnesty says TikTok's design promotes engagement instead of safety and can push children towards depression, self-harm, and suicide-linked material. Campaigner Zahra Asif Razvi says that the platform must shift from addictive by design to safe by design. She says young users deserve a space where they can learn and socialize without harm. The move comes days after TikTok hosted its European Trust and Safety Forum in Dublin. The company presented plans to use artificial intelligence to improve protection for users and introduced a time and well-being space to encourage healthier screen habits. France has issued a postage stamp in memory of Noor Inayat Khan, the Indian origin Muslim agent who served in the French resistance during World War II. Noor was born in Moscow on January 1, 1914. Her father, Inayat Khan, was an Indian Sufi musician, reportedly descendant from Tipu Sultan. Her mother, Pirani Amira Begum, was American. The family moved first to London, then in 1920 settled near Paris. Noor studied child psychology at the Sorbonne and music at the Paris Conservatory. She also wrote poetry and children's stories in English and French. After France fell to the Nazis, her family fled to Britain. Noor joined Britain's Women's Auxiliary Air Force. Her skill in wireless communication and fluency in French led to her recruitment by the Special Operations Executive. In 1943, Noor became the first female radio operator sent into Nazi-occupied France under the codename Madeleine. She transmitted vital intelligence from Paris while German forces hunted radio networks. betrayed months later, she was captured, tortured, and held at Dachau. She died at the age of 30 without ever betraying her comrades. France and Britain awarded her their highest wartime honors. The new stamp renews her memories. A new study says that the brain matures much later than once believed. Cambridge researchers found that the most significant neural rewiring happens around the age of 32, not in teenage years. The team analyzed MRI scans for more than 3,800 people aged from birth to 90 and mapped how brain networks develop across life. The findings show 5 major stages. The first runs from birth to 9, marked by fast growth in gray and white matter. Adolescence brings sharper and more efficient networks, but white matter development peaks only in the early 30s. Scientists say this is where the most dramatic shift in brain wiring occurs. After this point begins a long period of stability in intelligence and personality that lasts over 30 years. Around the age of 66, aging changes appear as white matter declines. A final shift happens near 83, when the brain relies more on local networks as global connectivity weakens. That's all from our DC studios. Thank you for watching Muslim News. We are a community channel dedicated to bringing you stories you can trust. Please like, share, and subscribe to our content. You can also comment to let us know what you think of our coverage on YouTube. You can donate now by visiting muslimnetwork.tv/donate. For more content, keep watching Muslim Network TV. Assalamu alaikum.